Home the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Move for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Hello, Canada and the rest of the world. You're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo from Toronto, Ontario. Flying solo here today as we get another episode going. Just quick update for the fans, of course. Still recovering from my time at College Nationals, but super fun and super excited to have done it and slowly easing back to the ways of life here in Toronto. But you may be wondering, where's Danny at? Danny's got a very busy month coming up with Worlds and traveling, as well as this TC training camp coming up as well. So looks like I'm inquiring for a co-host maybe, but we'll have some guests on later. And we're still going to bring you some good Canadian Ultimate coverage. So I'm going to jet right here to the news and get things going.
We now have breaking news.
So for your news section, as I mentioned just off the top, U20 training camp happening in Vancouver. So excited for those budding young superstars to get some reps in and see what they can do this upcoming Worlds tournament, right? That's in a couple months. So really excited for that. Speaking of that, we know Poultry Days is on its way this weekend. So being able for Team Canada to play Team USA as well as Hybrid and Noise. Going to be super exciting for them. And just looking forward to getting some of that footage. Ultiroll will be filming that Canada-USA game, so you can tune into that if you're a subscriber. And just a good chance to be able to see what the World Games team looks like. We mentioned last week, the team has been decided. So that is the case. So there will be people playing that tournament that are like alternates on the team. But that's part of their World Games requirement. So good to see the whole squad out there and supporting and playing that tournament. Speaking of tournaments here, there was an MGM tournament. So Masters, Grandmasters. There was a mixed tournament first off that happened in Ottawa. Elder from Ottawa winning the whole thing over Toronto Max Power 10-9. Got to give a shout out to Max Power though. I know they're from Toronto, but that's not why I'm giving them a shout out. Going from what it looks like in the statistic or in the Google sheet there, not winning a game in pool play, but taking down Flo in the quarters there, defeating Cursive in semis to get there. So congrats to you. I know there was 8 teams there. Pushing Daisies from Ottawa having a couple teams as well. There was a team from North Bay, so good to see different representation. Some teams getting ready for Worlds, and on the women's side, that's what happened as well. There was a women's Masters tournament. Iris and Stella also participating, trying to get reps in. So more of a round robin type deal. Stella is actually the only team to beat Stello in that tournament. Stella dropped some games to Iris, and Iris lost to Stello. So take that for what you will. Lowercase was also there. Solstice as well, and Vintage from Quebec. So there were some different teams. I know it went down to 5 teams sort of towards on the Sunday there. And then on the open side, Phoenix U won. I know it was like 3 teams. I don't know the details in terms of how competitive it might have been. But Phoenix, you're not a Masters team. You're actually very not close to being Masters, very young actually, but you take the victory. So congrats to you. Also want to highlight a tournament that happened, Frisbee Fest there, that was held by FQU on May 28th and 29th. So happened a little bit ways ago, but we'll talk about it. In women's, Venus defeats Macrame in the final, and Quasar comes in third. In mixed, the team that Danny will be playing with, Q Old, coming in first, defeating a team that I have not heard of. So I would love more insight if anyone has it. But Chouette, Coquette, Harfang, I have no clue if I got that right, but that's what it says on the website there. And then Red Fox, who we'll be talking about at Mixed Easterns, coming in third in that tournament. So getting a lot of reps is Red Fox. And then the Open, Ensom defeats Manic, and then Quake coming in third, defeating the team from Sherbrooke Ascension. So that's sort of the results there. And then looking at Mixed Easterns, that's going to be one of the main events we have today, is talking about what happened at this tournament. So Mixed Easterns is normally, which you'll hear about in the interview, normally a preseason tournament for a lot of these American teams. So it might not be the same competition. Let's say it's kind of like the Tucks that these Toronto and Ontario teams were playing a few weeks ago. So anywho, still results to glean from it and some excitement for these teams. So Union finishes 3-0 in pool play, defeats Wildcard in quarters and 10-9 over Obscure in the semis before falling to Sprocket 12-9 in the final. And Montreal Lab comes in third. So Lab, you qualified in 2019. You got some players I'm stoked about, and I just like the team vibe too. So tank tops are nice as well. So they go 3-0 in pool play, also getting a win over Wildcard. Seeded 11th, third in the pool. Come all the way to Boston, a little closer than from Toronto, but either way, they come in third place. Taking a look here, they defeat Obscure 8-7. So Obscure ranked 9, so seeding's kind of going ways there at Mixed Easterns, and you kind of expect that with an early season tournament like that. And then Epoch, the Masters team, coming in third in pool play, in a tough pool with Obscure as well as Slow. So you're in tough there, but you get 9th place over League of Shadows, a solid regionals level mixed team there in Boston in the Northeast region. So great results to glean from that. And then there's an elite division at Mixed Easterns as well as a classic. So in the classic, Spawn and Red Fox going undefeated in pool play. And Red Fox actually defeating Spawn in the final 11-10. So all Canadian battle at Mixed Easterns in the classic division, which we do like to see on the podcast. But Red Fox, it was tough, not tough sledding, but it was close. They had a close quarter over Lowbridge 13-12, and then an 11-8 win over Scarecrow. Whereas Spawn won their quarters and semis with a little bit more of a gap, but unable to maybe lost some steam there in the final. But want to give a shout out to those two teams. Going to Boston, doing well in the Classic, and maybe we'll see them move up to the Elite Division next time, or maybe they're going to go to Boston Invite and do some things as well. So that's your Mixed Easterns update. And then your AUDL update, Toronto unfortunately suffering a pretty, some would say, devastating loss, just not a close affair there, which you can expect from a young team playing against some of these big stars. A little fun story from that game, just being there. Seeing the crowd of people at the end, just like waiting at the entrance. That never happens at games. Like, we'll have Boston come in at some point, and maybe that will be the case for some Boston players. But I definitely don't think it will ever be this insane, as they say, because there was just a lot of people waiting for the one and only Marquez Brownlee. So Marquez, I don't think you watch his podcast, but we'll give a kudos to you for all that you do on the YouTube sphere and sort of the career you've made out of it, talking about tech. So congrats to you, and also awesome to see that you're still playing Ultimate out there as well. And so Marquez is on the Empire, along with other stars like Jack Williams, Ben Yacht, Ryan Osgar, Antoine Davis, Jeff Babbitt. I could keep going. Just added John Randolph as well. But the line to see Marquez Brownlee was absolutely huge. Security was there trying to get people back as players were trying to go through that area to go back to the locker room. So where they were lining up is also the ramp that players come in and out of. So it was just a little bit chaotic. And Marquez, super humble, loved interacting with all the fans there. And I'm sure the attendance was boosted by his presence there, which is cool to see for the league and for the teams that are playing New York. And I know New York flew in, so they were able to get rested and play against Toronto. And good to see, I said this to a couple of the players from New York, but really good to see New York sending their sort of A squads, their full squad. Jabron Meeser also making his debut for the Empire that day, along with John Randolph, and seeing those people getting in reps against Toronto, having Toronto fans and the players experience that is really exciting. Ottawa's on a bye week, so Ottawa's going to rest up before they go on a big road trip as well. So that's your AUDL update. Your news update, we're going to take a short break, hear from our sponsor, VC. Then we're going to talk with Union. Going to have 2 people on from Union and then do a little Jazz Fest preview as well. So catch you on the flip side right there.
This episode is sponsored by VC Ultimate. Now, if you know me, or you've seen me on the fields, or you've seen me coaching, you know I'm repping VC Ultimate. VC is a company that proudly puts values and company before profit. VC is the world's best source for quality, design, and all of your ultimate needs. So check out VC to get your gear now.
Hey, this is Shanique Crawford, founder and CEO of Discover Diversity, and you're listening to the Huckin A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
All right, here we go. Main event. I'm here with 2 members of Toronto Union, had a very successful tournament, as you heard about in the news section. So I'm here with Chase Heinemann and Jamee Nepom. Really excited to have these 2 on. I know Union's been grinding away and ready for some big results here. Got Worlds coming up as well. So I'll start with Jamie. Why don't you introduce yourself, how long you've been playing on the team, and what you do on the team besides being a baller?
Okay, thanks for having me. My name is Jamie. I've been on the team since 2019. So if you exclude COVID, I guess this is my 3rd season. I play in the D line and I lead the warm up.
That's an important part of the team. You can't forget that. So if you don't warm up well, you're not going to play well probably. So Chase, what about you?
Yeah, same with Jamie. So I'm a 2019 inductee from Union. So I've been on the team for this is my 3rd season. Also on the D line as a handler, and I kind of do some of the social media as well as some of our jersey design and logo design and stuff like that as well on the side. So,
giving away some secrets here, Chase, are you the one who made that sweet graphic? I do like the you and the graphic kind of the deal. Was that you?
It was kind of led by Sarah Burke and myself, but we got to give a shout out to our designer, Mario Zlatic from GOAT, who actually was the person that designed it for us. And he worked with Burke and I in terms of just the ideas that we had of what we wanted to bring to life.
Nice. And so now, we're going to jump right in here. Got lots of questions for you. So obviously 2021, 2020 is a very different seasons for every team out there. And so how did Union look after UCI in 2021? Got a bid to World, super exciting. What did Union do in the offseason to get ready for this year?
Yeah, so I think we definitely had the positivity of being able to compete at Worlds was a big momentum builder right off the bat. And so people were just re-engaged into the 2022 season right into November, whatever it may be. So we had weekly practices, kind of like pre-tryouts. And so that was in domes. We were also doing team workouts and we had team groups, and kind of during the lockdowns in Ontario, we were doing a bit more Zoom workouts as a group. And then once it opened up, we got outside again and tried to be with each other and work out with each other. But besides that, just kind of focused in on those Sunday afternoon leagues, we called them. And then as well, some Thursday night league and tuck. We played as a group, and so try to get more chemistry, as many reps as possible with each other.
Jamie, anything to add there? Any other special things you did in the off season? Were there team bonding sessions as well, or is it mostly just the workout aspect?
It was mostly workouts. We kind of hold each other accountable a lot. So we've got a group chat that's always going, and we're always trying to brag, whoever is working out, we're kind of posting about it and pushing each other. So there's a lot of that in our off season. That's pretty much it. I think Chase nailed it.
So now moving into the season. So I had the privilege of filming this game. I know Union might not want to think about this game too much because it didn't go the way of a Union there. But you made the finals at Tux a few weeks ago, which gave you some time before this tournament that you just played. So what did your team learn from that tournament, the final, and just overall that experience? And how did that prepare you for Mixed Easterns?
Yeah, so that was our first tournament together. Obviously, we were just fresh out of our tryouts. So it was a lot of learning for us. We have a lot of players who have played women's or open in the past. So I think it was a lot of just learning the timing, learning the throws that we all like and the breaks and all that kind of stuff. As well, we didn't really have a chance to run through most of our systems since we were pretty fresh out of tryouts. So we learned a lot about our systems and kind of how to perfect them. A lot about the timing and just a lot about each other. It was really one of our first chances to play as a team. So it was a lot of learning for us, I would say.
And even within the final there, Chase, I know there were some Union people that kind of defected to the other side, so that kind of maybe affected the results too, right?
Yeah, so essentially we have a couple players on the team that also play on Reunion who are going to World Masters, and so they want to get reps with both teams as they're going to Masters for mixed Worlds coming up at the end of June. So it was a great opportunity for them as a team to get some good reps against Union as a good team. So we took the opportunity for them to get some good reps and give us some challenges as some of our better players on the opposition, which was great to kind of experience matching up against our captains essentially.
So what you're saying is that win from Reunion should come with a little bit of like asterisks with like a help from Union kind of deal is what you're telling me.
Yeah, we really took, we were the wind beneath Reunion's sails there for sure.
Hey, I like that. I like that. So now looking into Mixed Easterns, you won your pool, which is super exciting, and taking on a team that if any of you in the audience follow Mixed Ultimate, you've heard of this team, Boston Wildcard. Boston obviously having a very flourishing mixed scene, so Wildcard being one of those teams. What was the key to success on defeating Wildcard there, and what was the mindset going into it, knowing it's kind of a team that everyone knows about and has heard about, if you watch any sort of Mixed Ultimate there?
Yeah, I mean, like the reality was, and we knew this going into, is that there's going to be some opportunities to beat some of these stronger teams, given that this was their warm-up tournament or their tryout tournament. So similar as Tux was that for us, we could tell that there was still some growing pains or some chemistry development on some of the other teams that usually are a little more tightened down. But with that being said, we wanted to really also show that we were there to compete. And so we came out really strong against Wildcard. I think we held our O point and then we got 3 breaks right off the bat. And so that was a huge momentum builder and kind of just set the tone for the game. After that, they pushed back though. They think they got 3 breaks as well in that first half. And so we knew that they were going to push back. They're a good team. They have some incredible players. And we were able to hold our ground even though they pushed back and not get too kind of intertwined in the momentum shift. It was a strong performance of our O-line to just reset themselves and get back to holding even after they'd come back to serve, and we were able to then take the lead and eventually win in the second half. So that was a really good sign from our O-line just to kind of keep their footing even after a very up and down first half.
And within that, this question's for both of you, whoever wants to answer, but what was the coaching staff saying? I know Warren was there giving you guidance there as your coach. So what was the coaching staff saying as the momentum was shifting, as you mentioned? So you're going up a bit and they break back. So what's the coaching staff kind of saying to your team to get you back in form there?
What I was going to say is I think Warren does a really good job managing our excitement levels. Coming off super hot in that game, we were definitely really excited. And so he did call a few timeouts just to bring us back. Before they started to make a comeback, he just kind of calmed us down and was like, yes, we are okay to get super excited and go with this momentum. However, we do need to bring it down to a level that we feel comfortable playing at. And then once they started to come off hot, we were like, okay, let's continue that excitement, but not take it up too much, and just find that happy medium.
Sounds good. And you took that momentum into the semifinal there, but the semifinal a bit closer, 1-point game there. So what did you learn from that semifinal win? Obviously you're gutting it out. It's close. So what did you learn about Union from that?
What was awesome in that semifinals is we kind of gave a little bit of equal play time to everyone. It was a really good chance for some of just for the whole team to get those really high level reps. So I guess we kind of learned that the score doesn't really speak to the entire game, and just allowing everyone to get those high level reps that we might not get before we go to Worlds or just for the next part of our season that we're at right now. So allowing the whole team to get those reps, I don't think it really spoke to the score as much. We were also up an upwind break and a downwind break. So yeah, again, the score didn't really reflect everything, but it was a lot of learnings from that game. And I think it was awesome for everybody on the team to experience those really good reps. It was a good game. It was really fun.
And within that game, how are the lines being called? Because obviously for the American teams, it's going to be more of that tryout tournament you mentioned. Was Union kind of ramping up in terms of playing tight lines, or was it still kind of open roster for the semifinal? And then we'll talk about the final later, but the semifinal specifically.
Yeah, I think we were rolling an O-line and a D-line. With that being said, obviously we're going to be conscious that it is the start of the season. We want to get people reps in these tight games and in good competition games. And so we wanted to focus on chemistry for the O-line, allow them to just get familiar with each other and work out any kinks as they need. But for the D-line, it was definitely just let's get people into different positions, marking up against different types of players that they may or may not be seen in the rest of the season, and just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. So there was a bit of a kind of a happy medium between keeping the line short, but at the same time, letting everyone get different reps.
And of course, you then move into the final against one of Canada's own in Breton Tan and this Boston Sprocket squad who finished in quarterfinals at Nationals in 2021. So really exciting to be playing against them. 13-9 scoreline, I believe. So, scores don't always tell the tale. So I'll let you two tell the tale of the game for the audience and what happened there.
Yeah, I think Sprocket's an incredible team. They're really athletic, and so that was something that we hadn't seen to that specific level. And so every reset's just that much more challenging. Every undercut is that much more challenging. Our more athletic players had a tighter mark on them at all times on the field. And so just playing against that stronger level of defense specifically was for sure something that we were excited to experience down there. And that's why we go down those tournaments, is play these teams. And so that was kind of what we experienced in that game. There was a couple breaks back and forth. I think they broke us a couple times in the first half. We did break back, but they did get a bit of a roll at one point. And so they took half. And then in the second half, we just kept on kind of going back and forth a bit. I think they got an extra break in the second half or so to just extend that lead. But overall, it was a good game. There was a couple marathon points and a couple breaks going back and forth. So I think both teams approached it from a mindset of really using it to develop and having good competition for everyone. And so I think that kind of resulted in a really high-spirited game as well.
And in terms of the vibe from the team after, because I saw the Instagram stories, getting pictures on the road. You got to drive back from Boston. That's a long ride for anyone who's done it. So what was the vibe from the team after the tournament? You just played this final, and now you got to drive home. So are the vibes high, or everyone's just tired waiting to get back to Toronto there?
Yeah, I think it was really positive. We set our goals ahead of time going into the tournament as wanting to just be in competitive games with top level teams on the Sunday, and getting good reps throughout the entirety of the weekend. So walking away and being able to beat Wildcard and then have a good game against Sprocket and Obscure, those were all successes. And the fact that we came out on top against Wildcard and Obscure were positives. But overall, just I think what we set out to do for the weekend came to reality. So it's definitely a very positive drive back. With that being said, I was actually in a car with Jamie, and she beasted it and just went the entire 10 hours, drove home after playing the entire day. So that was I think it was the first time I've seen that happen, and no one in our car fell asleep. So we had a pretty fun car ride, just making some jokes and just talking about the weekend in totality as well.
Yeah, kudos to you, Jamie, for doing that, because I've been to Boston back, and it is a long drive. So the fact that you didn't have anyone help you is a testament to your driving skills, and like Shay said, you're beasting out there. So now moving forward, you got Worlds on the horizon. Be interested to hear kind of your plans for Canadian Nationals possibly, and then also the American Series. So kind of wrap up our interview here with sort of the plans for Union moving forward.
Yeah, so we're obviously going to Worlds, which is so exciting. And then we have Canadian Series, we're gonna be at Nats. It's gonna be awesome. And then we are, as of right now, hoping to be in the mix for US Series. So we're looking to do all of those three. I think that being said, those are three different peaks at very different times of the season. So it's going to be a lot of body maintenance and just like learning when to kind of rest our bodies. I think in the past, like it's only been like mostly our focus has been on Canadian series. And then like we've been like, oh, maybe we'll do US. And then we haven't done it for a few years, especially with COVID. So this year it's just going to be a lot of like body maintenance and like really looking out for each other, like on and off the field, like taking that time that we need to rest, but also knowing when to push so that we are able to peak 3 different times within like a pretty short amount of time. So we're super excited. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of opportunities for your players. So that sounds super exciting. And in terms of getting ready for Worlds, is there another tournament or like a high level scrimmage your team has planned to get ready for that? Because Worlds is still like more than a month away. So how's your team going to prepare for that tournament?
So I think we're looking at a practice weekend later in June. There's still some conversation around how that's going to look. And then we do have Ontario Provincials coming up July 9th, 10th to give us a couple extra reps prior to going into Worlds at the end of July. So those are kind of like the big 2 nuggets that are coming up over the next month or so. And then obviously we're practicing every week. And so getting reps against ourselves is some of the best competition we can have. And so we're trying to really make sure that they have a high intensity and feel like games when we are scrimmaging each other.
Yeah, and I'm excited also for the U.S. series. I know I've talked a lot about Red Flag on the podcast, but you got to throw Toronto Union in the mix here based on their success at Mixed Easterns. So last question, that I have is you weren't the only Canadian team there. So there were lots of Canadian talent, including Spawn coming out all the way from the Maritimes there to play. So did either of you have a chance to watch any of the Canadian teams or see what they did and kind of give us a little glimpse into how they performed as well?
I think the one team that we really were hoping to play after this weekend was Lab. We saw their scores against some of the teams that we played. Like we know that they took Wildcard out. And we were playing on fields right beside them. So I think we were really hoping to match up against them after like seeing those scores like Wildcard, and they had a really good game against Sprocket. So that was definitely the team that we were kind of hoping to play. If we could, I guess, pick one Canadian team that would have like given us a good challenge, but I didn't get a chance to see Spawn. I don't know if Chase, if you saw them.
Yeah, I mean, Spawn was in a different, it looks like there were 2 different divisions, right? So there's like the Elite and the Classic. So they were kind of in a different one, which is cool. And they played off against Red Fox there. So good to see. And just a quick correction for the fans out there. It was actually 12-9 in the final. I just looked at it now. So 12-9 in the final. So a little closer. And then Lab did lose to Sprocket 13-9 in the semi. So both teams being competitive, and excited to see the prospects of those 2 teams amongst the other Canadian mixed teams there at World. So Chase and Jamie, thank you for coming on. Any final words of we're going to say final words of wisdom or any other fun stories you want to share with the Huckin audience here before you sign off?
No, just thanks for having us on the pod. We're excited for the rest of the season. Definitely want to rematch against apparently your favorites, Red Flag. And so we're excited to face them at some point this season. But yeah, thanks for having us.
So stay tuned. We're going to talk Jazzfest preview after this. So stay tuned for that. That'll be our second main event of this podcast. All right, so now we're at our second main event. It's a tournament called Montreal Jazzfest. For those who don't know, it's an open and women's tournament that happens sort of, I would say, kind of early season. It's a tournament that I'm very fond of, and I'll talk about it in the subscriber only. Some of my favorite experiences from that tournament. And so Jazzfest happening this weekend. Unfortunately, a team had to drop out in the open division, so it kind of created some uneven pools there. But either way, it's still going to be an exciting tournament for sure, and something that teams will use to prep for regionals from the Ontario side, and I'm sure from the Quebec side as well. We're going to start with the women's division. Your pools are Venus, Incognito, love that name, PPF, Luna, and Volt on the A side, and on the B side, Cube, Aguada, the Gatineau team, Vintage, Valkyrie, and Lore. So a lot of Quebec representation as well as some Toronto in it. In terms of picks, I will abstain from picking the open division if the team that I practice with Boat is in it. So that's going to be the case this time. But in this draw, I do expect the pools to go to chalk in Pool A or close to. I think Venus is going to be the heads and above the team there. Incognito going to come second and PBF third. Vintage and Iguana will be a great matchup. Believe both of those are Masters teams, so I'm sure they've played each other before and being from the same province. I do think Cube is going to be the one to take it, and then Venus and Cube in the final there when it's all said and done with Venus taking it. Venus already having some success earlier in the season, sort of like having, I know there's Club M in the men's division there, and so there's sort of a system there in the women's as well. And so seeing, like another, we have Iris, who's more of a provincial team, but Venus out there as well, doing great things for that division and sort of for the growth of women's ultimate in the province and in that city as well. The men's division a lot bigger though. So women's division, only 10 teams, got an even number. That's always good to hear. The open division, going to have 19 teams. So supposed to be 20, but unfortunately, that's what happens. The team has to drop out. So your pool C is your top pool there. Probably, I would say the top 3 teams seeded in this tournament in Ensom, Hound, and Manic. In Pool D, you have Quake, Ensom Grandmasters, Roy from Toronto, and Big Science, MIT alumni team that I've played many a time at Jazzfest. In Pool E, Phoenix, Magma, Maverick, and Loyal. Pool F, Boat, Ascension, the team from Sherbrooke that I mentioned earlier. Mesa, which is part of the Club M system, and Madhouse, kind of the second team or a team out of Halifax. Love that they're seeing their journeying out to this tournament and getting a lot of reps. I know they play No Borders as well. So great to see Madhouse out there. And in Pool G, a tough pool. I would say probably the toughest pool that I see. Grand Trunk out, Quebec City's Quartz, and Rage, also part of the Club M system. So full disclosure, I will be playing with Maverick this weekend, my old team. So excited to be out there. Like I said, practice with Boat, but I'll be playing with Maverick this weekend. So playing with the old squad, needed someone. So, I'll take up the call and play. But I'm not going to maybe make too many picks. I guess I'll say that I think Ensom, Hound, and Manic are all sort of locks in for the semis. Hound's going to be an interesting case with some of their players playing on the Rush on Saturday. Same thing with Boat. But there's going to be a very high contention for that semi spot. Could be Quake from Quebec City. Could be Phoenix. Going to shout out, obviously, team I practice for in Boat. Could be GT. Could be out. So lots of different teams out there and kind of some games to watch out for. That Boat Ascension matchup is going to be really good because I think it's some of the players who played Sherbrooke Gentlemen's Club before. So that team's always put up fights at these tournaments. And so I expect that game to be really good. The best game in pool play, though, by far is going to be Grand Trunk out. Teams that actually matched up at UCI previously in 2021. I know Grand Trunk, a very different squad, but Grand Trunk seated above out, from my knowledge, defeating GT at UCI. So this will be an interesting matchup, probably the spiciest of them all. Phoenix, Magma could be good too. Club M battle of Magma versus Phoenix. I think Quake has their pool locked up more or less, unless Ensom Grandmasters. I don't know. I haven't seen them play, so maybe they come out in shock. But that's your pools there, and then there's some crossovers happening before it gets to the main draw there, the finals on Sunday. We'll note the 8 a.m. start for a lot of these teams, at least in the open division. I know some women's teams also start 8 o'clock, so early start for you, but also early end. So I know some teams use this as kind of a fun tournament for regionals. Last games for at least the open teams at 2:50. For the women's, it goes all the way to 6:20, so that's tough. Mind you, some of you, for example, Venus starts at 9:40 and finishes at 6:20. So a long day for you, but what else would you be doing on a Saturday besides playing a lot of ultimate frisbee? So excited to see kind of the results from that. That's a preview for Jazzfest. Not a long one, but just give you a little update, of what's happening out there. And then for a lot of these Ontario teams, it will be regionals coming up. I know Flower Bowl is coming up for the BC teams. Winnipeg team's going to have to try to get some reps in at different places. I know there's a local tournament happening for some of the mixed squads. So club season's coming fast and furious. You got regionals coming up. Then you got No Borders later in July. You got WUC So lots to talk about here on the podcast, so make sure you stay tuned. That concludes our main event, and we'll hit the outro now where I say follow our socials, all of them, especially Instagram for sure. Really want to thank Union for coming on the podcast and just hearing more about their perspective. Would love to see them play red flag and kind of settle the debate of Vancouver-Toronto mixed, and Quebec's going to have something to say about that as well. So Lab and a couple other teams being involved. So it's going to be interesting mixed division as well. See if all those teams go, and especially seeing what they do kind of in the U.S. series. So that wraps up our episode for today. Stay tuned if you're a subscriber. If you're not, you should. So subscribe to the Huckin A podcast, not only, but subscribe to UltiWorld. Show your appreciation through some giving of the funds to what UltiWorld does. You saw some of the production at the college championships, every team being filmed. I mentioned that multiple times on the broadcast, and there was a reason for that because that's just super cool. So if you want to support that, please do that as well. And by the time this hits, hopefully some of the games from Tux will be up as well. They'll be up soon. So if you don't see it right away, they will be there. So you'll see some games from that tournament, the early Toronto tournament as well. I'm going to have a chance to film some of the Elite Women's Tournament happening in June. So that'll be exciting. And you can take a look at that if you're UltiWorld subscribers. So anyways, I will be talking about some of my favorite Jazz Fest memories in the subscriber only. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
This is Mike Haddock, founder of Haddock Sport Performance and strength and conditioning coach for Ultimate Canada. And you're listening to the Huckin A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.